You know what? I realize that most people in the world is just in Christian. When I say in the world, I'm talking about in the Christian church, is bullshitters. That's all they are. And I would say, for the most part, in general, I should have had it handy when I before I said that. But that's all right. I'll go ahead and get it. I'm not gonna even say what it is until I go to it. I'm gonna back up what I just said. Matthew 24 and verse 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. Let me reiterate 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. That right there within itself is just talking about the Christian church is and people in general is bullshit. It's just that most of them is bullshit shitters, fake as hell. That's what it means. Verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. There you have it. What are some of the ways you can wax the love of many will wax cold? What are some of the characteristics of waxing cold? Let me tell you what the fuck that is. You have a family member, they sick. When they get old, what do most people do? I'm not picking on nobody. What do most people do? They throw them in the nursing home though. That's fucking part of it. That's part of that shit because what you're doing, you're handing your people over to the Romans to be crucified. The modern day Romans. That's no different from handing Christ over. A lot of people ain't gonna look at it like that, but that is no different from handing your Lord and Savior over to be crucified for the most part. Why? Because I just read out the Bible. In verse 12 of Matthew 24, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. That's part of it. Saint Saint John chapter 19 and verse 15. St. John 19:15. But they cried, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. In other words, when you take a stand, is to put your people in a so-called system that we know that these systems is based upon a conspiracy. And we put our people in these type of systems. You know what you're doing? You are making a decision is to crucify God. You're handing, that is no different from when Pilate washed his hands. Now, I know most people are not going to agree with this, but according to the Bible, that's part of it. Because what you're doing, you don't want Pilate here in this situation didn't want any of the responsibility. So he still was guilty. And that's why he washed his hands. But he still made a decision is to hand him over. You see what I'm saying? That's like me knowing I'm coming into a store and seeing my brother being done wrongfully by Caucasian people. And even though I'm knowing it's not right what they're doing, it's just like the Uncle Tom that works on the police suit. They know it's wrong to do what they're doing, but they don't care in that moment because what they're trying to do, they're looking at the convenience of this world. And they know it's not right, but they're gonna go along with it. Because they had a girl told me a long time ago, she said, well, I understand that, you know, we all living in, and we know that the white people is so-called white people is doing it. This is what she literally told me. This was years ago. And she said, but sometimes when you have a job, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. So she was letting me know right then she'll be Uncle Tom. She'll be an asshole for the damn white folks. They let you know right then and there when it comes to that money, they're going to do what they need to do. Even if they got to work and do what they got to do, they're going to compromise. Even though they know it's not right, they're going to go along with it. It's the same thing when people be talking about women, when they talk, because women are not by nature, they don't speak with logic. They'll just debate stuff. They just go off of their emotions. Most of them do. You see what I'm saying? Even though they know that a man is right, they still gonna debate him and argue. You see what I'm saying? But you don't need to be with nobody. But the point is, it says, then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified, and they took Jesus and led him away. Because it says, in St. John 19, verse 4, Pilate therefore went again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. See, he knew. Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. And the Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was more afraid. Pilate was afraid. Did the Most High, he tells us don't be afraid, right? He said, perfect love casts out fear. There's no love in fear, but perfect love casts out fear. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was more afraid. When they talked about he by the law, he made himself the Son of God. And went again unto the judgment hall and said unto Jesus, whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then Pilate said unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? Jesus answered, thou couldst not have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto thee had the greater sin. And from henceforth Pilate sought to release him. Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, if thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he besought Jesus forth and sat down in the judgment seat and place that is called the pavement, but in the Hebrew Golgotha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, behold your king. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, we have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. See, Pilate took and released him to be crucified. Let's go to Matthew's 27 and 26. Matthew's 27, 26. Verse 26. It said, then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. That's Pilate. Then the soldiers of the government took Jesus unto the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe. And when they had planted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head and reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocking him, saying, hail, King of the Jews. And they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. Okay. Let's look at verse 20, back up and look at Matthew's 27 and verse 22. Pilate said unto them, what shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? And they all say unto him, let him be crucified. And the governor said, why, what evil had he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. then answered all the people and said, here, his blood be on us and on our children. The Israelites then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Pilate washed his hand. He was just still just as guilty of doing that. So that's why I brought up the situation about the nursing home. When you put your people in a nursing home, that is no different from, and you knowing your people is innocent, and we knowing that the so-called nursing homes, we know that that's a wicked organization, and you mistreat your people in there. That's a form that is no different from releasing God to be crucified. I'm telling you the truth. It's no difference. It's the same thing. Hold on, wait a minute. Make sure I don't need none of that showing. None of my, no. Matter of fact, let's get this study. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. Pilate was still just as guilty. I think this might be it right here. This one is dealing with the rapture. Here we go. This is it right here. The cross of Christ. It says, after washing, now this is the lesson part. After washing his hands, what did Pilate do? Matthew 27:26, which what I just read. Watch this. Here's the answer. He delivered him to be crucified. That's the answer that goes right here in this lesson. Note, to not take a stand to follow Christ. That's what it was. He delivered him to be crucified based upon, according to the Bible. Now, remember, I'm comparing this to being your brother's keeper. If I'm not my brother's keeper, then guess what? That's the same spirit that put you, that modern day people put our people in the nursing home. That's the same spirit, that ancient spirit is up on us today. It's no difference of putting your people in the nursing home. No, Pilate knew Jesus was innocent. See that? Think about it. Now, I want you to think about how the so-called black women they just argue because the government, Esau teach them, the white men teach them, like they have like the uppities or something like that. They put women in power and stuff like that. Now watch this in. Pilate knew Jesus was innocent. He knew Jesus was falsely accused and condemned. That's why the courts is not designed to be just and right. It's just designed to, the system just want to find a conviction in people. And you wonder why we hate white folks the way that we do. Pilate knew Jesus was innocent. He knew Jesus was falsely accused and condemned, but he feared the crowd. And I remember reading that. He saw what was right, but he washed his hands. Many of us are like Pilate. We examine the truth from all angles. We admit it's right. It's in the Bible, but we do follow it. Are you a Pilate? Now watch this here. After washing his hands, what did Pilate do? That's what I just read in Matthew 27 and 26. Something told me to do this here. He delivered him to be crucified. Okay, we know that. That's Matthew 27 and 26. Note, to not take a stand to follow Christ is to take a stand to crucify Christ. Pilate washed his hands, but in the next moment, he delivered Jesus to be crucified. If an individual does not make a decision to follow Jesus, it is a decision to crucify him. Think about the part where it says, love your brother, be a keeper of the sheep, like David was a keeper of the sheep. The opposite of being a keeper of the sheep is not being a keeper of the sheep. I'm my brother's keeper. How can you be your brother's keeper when you put when I'm putting my mother in a nursing home? That's for me. How am I my brother's keeper and I'm putting my mother in a nursing home? How am I my sister's keeper and I'm putting my mother in a nursing home? And I'm knowing. Now notice it says to take a stand to follow Christ is to take a stand to crucify him. Pilate washed his hand, but in the next moment he delivered Jesus to be crucified. If an individual does not make a decision to follow Jesus, it is a decision to crucify him. Now let's go up. Pilate knew Jesus was innocent. He knew he was innocent. He knew Jesus was falsely accused and condemned, but he feared the crowd. He feared the people. He saw what was right, but he washed his hands. Many of us are like Pilate. We examine the truth from all angles, but we admit it's right. It's in the Bible, but we do not follow it. Are you a Pilate? See, that's the same thing that people do today. Well, I know that the white man is not, we know he don't do us right. Yeah, we know that they ain't right. We know they wicked, but we still have to love them. They can tell you that, and they can know that that's completely wrong. But because they want to be a people's pleaser, they gonna go along with it, not because they know it's wrong with me standing up for what's right. Just like when I was in Walmart one day, right? I was taking up for a sister that a so-called white man here in Hammond, Louisiana, took and harassed that sister, and like she was a fucking criminal, and went and told her, "Oh, you need to go back and pay for this," and came back and then he got mad and came back at me, looking at my motherfucking bag, trying to make it seem like I'm a damn criminal, walking out the store and saying, you need to show a receipt. And I'm looking at him like, and I still that day I cussed his ass out and called him the damn devil. You see what I'm saying? He got mad because see, when you try to stand with your people or whatever, they get mad when you do that. That makes them, that pisses them off, or they don't like it when you stand with like, oh, okay, I got to keep my eye on him. He's okay. I consider him a threat. He ain't on my end. He ain't on my side, or whatever. So the guy was standing there telling me to save his job. He was telling me just go ahead or something. He was saying, Clarence, he was trying to call himself trying to refute the situation or whatever. But really he was going along with the so-called white man. He was trying to, it's like he was telling me to be quiet and walk on out the store. Because I was already sitting there talking to him anyway. But I didn't know he was no damn asshole for the damn white man. I didn't know this. And maybe God allowed it to happen like that just to show me who I was dealing with, to be careful on me. You can't be talking and dealing with everybody, because those same people could turn you in. I mean, they'll be on the so-called white man's side. They'll side with the oppressor. So that's what it was all about. They dangerous. So I don't even speak to them. When I go in there, I don't even speak to him now, because it's just like speaking to the enemy, because he got the spirit of his enemy. So at this point, I don't see him as a brother. I see him as an enemy, because he has Esau, the white man's spirit, upon him. You see what I'm saying? Because they'll try, like if I'm sitting there debating with, let's say if I'm sitting there debating with a so-called white man, if a brother or sister is sitting there looking at me taking up my people, and they know that what the white man, well, you can leave about the, let's say if the so-called white man, I was about to say, well, you can get off my property, you can leave, or I'm gonna call the police and stuff, and then they'll be trying to beg for me. Just leave, man. Just leave. Meaning that they going along with the so-called white man or whatever and what he's doing or whatever. They let them know, hey, at the end of the day, I'm gonna side with the oppressor instead of siding with my brother. And I don't really, at that point, I don't see you as a brother. I see you as a demon. I see you as the enemy, all of that. I don't. Even if you are a Hebrew brother by blood, if you side with the so-called oppressor, I don't consider you my brother. I mean, you still is a brother, but I label you because you going along with the system. You know, you have you have the spirit over you, just like your enemy. So you would hurt and kill me just like the enemy would. You don't know you would, but you would. A lot of people don't look at it like that. I want to continue to keep breaking that down later on. Most people are just bullshitters. That's the video title, since I put that in there like that. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to speak a little bit more on this topic and break down what I'm talking about. So I'm going to see y'all later here. Let me go in here and check on my mother right quick.